Liverpool 2, Aston Villa 0. Who's happy with that? You've got to be happy with that, haven't you? For all the doom and gloom of late, this was a performance. 2 goals scored, none conceded, a clean sheet, the first one since September the 14th against Burnley. And just like that, we're up to joint second in the league. And after a bit of a nervous first 10-15 minutes when it was a bit end-to-end, we never looked in trouble in that game. It was balanced, controlled, with drive and energy and ambition. And as one of my mates, Dave Mansfield, texted to me, Liverpool have got the band back together, playing their own instruments and their own songs. I thought it was a great way of summing it up. The starting lineup still included Gakpo and Salah, 2 who've been criticised of late for their lack of intensity, and more about them in a minute because I was one of the ones criticising. But the great news was that Ryan Gravenberch, so important to us, was back. And the other great news is that Andy Robbo was given his first start of the season in a Premier League game at left back. Now, this is not an anti-Kerkez situation. I've said time and time again, Kerkez is too young, he's too raw, and he's been thrown in. And he's not been helped by his lack of chemistry with Virgil and Virgil yelling at him as well. That hasn't helped either. But this is about the balance, the control. This is about putting a player who's won everything in the game and who's the vice captain back into his rightful spot. And it worked, and it was always likely to work. Kerkez will be okay in the future, but just not right now. Putting Robbo at left back meant that his partnership with Virgil was reinstated, and it gave us a back 4 made up of title winners. And the midfield too was back to the 3 that won us the league last season, as were 2 of the attack. And we needed to see change. We all knew we needed to see change. I'd suggested a change of formation to a diamond, which I know a lot of you agreed with, but I didn't think he was going to do it. But he did something that was equally as important and the key to today's win. He went back to basics, something many of us called for weeks ago. This was a team as close as it was possible to have to last season's title winners, finally. Of the 10 outfield players, 9 of them were from last season. So, onto the game itself. The Anfield crowd was, of course, well up for it. So the stage was set under the Anfield lights on a Saturday, which is a rarity. And the crowd, just like the team did, just like every player did, knew that this was an absolute must-win. But remember, in the league, it's 1 home defeat in 13 months. So for all our form away from home, it's still a fortress, Anfield. And before a ball was kicked, the biggest key to this game, and I think most of us were in agreement with this, was that a high intensity, high energy, determined approach was needed. By the way, Villa had lost 6 of their last 7 Premier League away games against us at Anfield before today. But they'd only lost 1 game of their last 10, and they'd won 6 of their last 7, versus us losing 6 of our last 7. They were also coming off the back of beating Man City last week. And we did start with that intensity, which was great to see, but it was actually Villa who hit the post after 5 minutes. We were inches away from conceding the first goal for what I think is the 8th consecutive game. And it was end-to-end for a bit. Both had good chances. Mamardashvili with a fantastic save after the deflected shot. Then Szoboszlai was clean through, but scuffed it. Then his excellent free kick was saved. So it was a bit end-to-end, but importantly, we were playing with passion and fire and ambition. Even when both teams were creating openings in that first 15 minutes, there was a positive energy to our game that's been sorely missing of late. And Mo Salah looked hungry to get on the ball. And Gakpo looked at it and determined. When he fired one over the bar, which went to about row Y, he looked angry and mad and pissed off with himself. And I was thinking, yes, that's what we want to see. I don't care that it went over the bar. I care that you cared that it went over the bar. The midfield trio were everywhere. McAllister was somewhere close to back to his best. Gravenberch was superb. Dominic Szoboszlai was once again on a different level. He was brilliant throughout. Andy Robbo was an all-action left-back and centre-forward rolled into one. He kept popping up in their box. Conor Bradley was overlapping, getting forward. In the game, he had several good efforts on goal. It was wonderful. And then after that first 15 minutes when Villa were in it and had a couple of shots on target, they had nothing for the rest of the game except the very odd minor break. I think they had one shot on target after the first 20 minutes. And as that first half progressed, the intensity that we showed, Villa just couldn't live with it. It was the best half in terms of attacking intent, energy and passion that we've seen for weeks. And finally we got reward for it towards the end of the half. First of all, McAllister had a shot blocked after some intricate play on the edge of the box. Then a brilliant ball in from Szoboszlai was headed home by Ekitike, but he'd ran offside. And just when you're thinking we're going to go in at half time, not rewarded, and another first half without a goal, their keeper makes an error and Mo Salah tucks it home. And you know what? That was such an accomplished finish. No rush. It was calmness personified, and it was Mo Salah. So yeah, it was a keeper's mistake, but who is it who gets on the end of it? It's Mo Salah again. And it's not an accident that Mo gets on the end of these things. He's been doing it for years. And his far, far better display in that first half was rewarded by becoming only the third Liverpool player in our history to score 250 goals. He sits at the very, very exclusive table alongside Sir Roger Hunt and the brilliant Ian Rush. What company Mo Salah is keeping. I want to mention too about Cody Gakpo and Mo Salah, who I have criticised for lack of effort, as many of you have. Well, just before Mo scored, Cody Gakpo was in central midfield and he battled away to win his duel, and he won it, and he really put it in to win it. He bullied his marker. He got away and then he fed it to Mo, who fought like a tiger to win that ball on the wing. It was two moments of two players showing the appetite that has been missing from them, but it was absolutely brilliant to see from both of them. Keep it up, lads. That made such a difference today. From everybody, not just you two, but from everybody. So, half time, it's 1-0. And by the way, when we've scored first this season, in every single game that we've scored first in the Premier League, we've gone on to win the game. So we came out 1-0 ahead, but could we maintain it? Could we build on it? Or would the nerves get the better of us after our recent run? Well, we were superb in the second half as well. Villa barely had a shot on target. Villa could barely get out. It started immediately. The second half started. We were all over them. And first of all, Gakpo almost got on the end of a cross. Didn't quite get there. Would have been offside, but still, he busted the gut to get there. Then Conor Bradley was once again driving into the box and Villa were hanging on. After 6 minutes of the second half, we'd had 84% possession to their 16. I said in the pre-game, the one thing that we could not afford in this game was any of the Liverpool players to be passengers, because too many of them have. And this was a game where every single Liverpool player showed up. There was a moment in the second half where Ekitike did one of those little pieces of skill where he bamboozles his opposite number, and he got him booked. because he bamboozled him so much. And then he did the Steven Gerrard thing to the crowd, didn't he? And of course the crowd responded, and it was another moment that showed that every single one of these players today was at it. Every one of them had it in their head that they were going to give their all, and they did. By the way, one other thing to mention is we were caught offside 8 times in this game. Villa weren't caught offside at all. And normally that would be something that you might criticise. Like, look how many times we ran offside. But it showed the intent today. The offsides were almost exclusively as we were trying to break their lines, and we were just getting caught offside. So again, it was because of positive intent, not what is normally a negative of being caught offside. Then on 57 minutes, the pressure told. McAllister picks it up in midfield, feeds it to Gravenberch. He takes a shot. It's got a slight deflection. It goes right past the keeper. And it was Ryan Gravenberch's 3rd goal in 10 games this season, after scoring 4 for us in his previous 87. What a joy it was to have him back. Arne Slot's name boomed out from the Kop, letting all of us know the level of support he's got from the match-going fans, which was a very high level of support, it has to be said. From that point on, the game was done and dusted. We never looked like throwing it away. Villa kept getting caught trying to play out from the back by the traps that we were setting. And like, I was like, oh my God, remember that? Remember those days from a month ago when we were setting traps and we were like stopping teams from getting out? It was like an old friend had come back. And there was one other major factor about this display, and something so vitally important after we went 2-0 up. There was no complacency, none. And it was so bloody refreshing to see. Finally, we got a 2-0 lead, and we didn't just not let the intensity levels drop. If anything, we might have upped them a level. And that's the first time, I think, this season where we have gained control of a game and then we've grabbed it by the scruff of the neck to see it out. And what about the desire today of Alexis McAllister, who many were asking to be dropped? I wasn't one of them, because he's such a class act and he needed the game time. And today, back to his best, battling and winning his battle with Onana. That one on the goal line where Onana first tried to strangle him. And he's about 2 foot taller than him. And McAllister would not give it up. He was like a little yappy dog. And then finally, they both wrestle each other to the ground. The referee gives Liverpool a foul, and Alexis McAllister gets up and screams with delight as if he'd scored a goal. And it was another moment that just told you what was going on with the mentality of this team today. So I'm going to summarise why it all worked today. The reintroduction of Andy Robertson, last season's midfield trio back together, heart, energy, drive and desire in spades today. All the players playing in their specialist positions throughout the game and not any tweaks and changes to put them in foreign positions. And going back to the basics of a team made up of players that had seen it and done it before. And these positive changes gave us the balance, control and domination that we've been missing recently. Now, I do have one little moan, and it's about Arne Slot again after the game. He was asked again, what was the difference today versus the previous games and all those defeats? And his first 2 answers were these. The first one was that, well, we didn't concede after 5 minutes this time because it hit the post instead of going in. And the second reason was because we didn't concede from a set piece. I mean, come on, mate. These were not the reasons. They're factually correct, but these were not the reasons. Why are you unable to admit that certain things that you had done hadn't worked. So you had to change them today. You had to change what you were doing. You had to change the left back. You had to stop moving players out of position. And today it was those very changes that made the difference. So it's okay to say, we put a team out there today that showed more heart and more desire, and we got the balance right. Because that's what happened. You did it. Take credit for the positives, mate. And stop harping back to the fact that we only won because we didn't concede a goal and we didn't concede from a set piece. They weren't the reasons. So after my little slight moan, that's the only negative today for me. Everything else was positive. But back to a bit of reality check. It's only one game, but it's the one game we needed. And it's a springboard to the next two really huge games that we've got coming up against Real Madrid and against Man City. And it was exactly the tonic we needed. And there's no way, I'm going to predict it now, there is no way that Slot is going to go back to tinkering after seeing all the positive changes that happened today, whether he admits to them or not. So I'm sure you're as happy as me. Arne Slot did the right thing today. The players did the right thing today. So kudos to them all, from the manager to every single player who was out there today, and that includes the late substitutes as well. Well done, everyone. It was a brilliant display and a welcome relief. So I'll see you for the Real Madrid pre-game at Anfield. Conor Bradley on Mbappe, anyone? I'll see you then. You'll never walk alone. Cheers. Ta-ra.